Kung Fu Cowboy here. All right, this is going to be about my bassist life. Let's see if I can condense that into one short podcast. It's a pretty unique tale. All right, let's just go for it, see what happens. I was exiled from the USA, 16 years old. I'm in St. John's, Newfoundland, in graduating high school. And somehow they find out I'm a guitar player. I had a Fender Mustang guitar. And they said, hey, we need a bass player, And I said, well, I'm a guitarist, but I don't have a bass and an amp. They go, oh, no, that's no problem. We'll supply you the bass and we'll supply you with the amp. We were on tour in Europe and our bass player bailed out in Germany and now they're back in Newfoundland. They were actually a Newfoundland band. They were called Lukey's Boat. Lukey's Boat. I never liked that name from the beginning, but that was the name. And so anyway, they said, okay. I said, fine, I'll do it. And so they supplied me a jazz bass, a Fender jazz bass. And I can't remember what the amp was. I hardly ever dealt with it since it was just always there. Just turn it on, play. I want to think it was an SVT. That's off the top of my head. I would say it was an SVT, which is a great bass amp. Even though it's only got 10-inch speakers, it's got 8 of them. And the SVT to me is the most amazing bass sound. I go into a club and I hear the bass without even looking. I go, "That's an SVT." I can hear it. I could always tell. I'd go, "Yeah, see, that's an SVT bass amp." Oh, hold on, I dropped my list. I don't think I need my list. I should just tell the story. There's nothing on here to look at. I'll tell you this. There's so many things I didn't tell my children. There's so many things I wanted to raise them. I lost them before they were 18. And there were so many things that I couldn't share with them because I was waiting till they were 18 as adults to even talk about. So I never really raised my kids. I was merely a nanny for over a decade. Well, almost 2 decades, really. My daughter was left when... Anyway, yeah, and then my son left, and then he came back. But anyway, I kind of stayed there and still cleaned the house and took care of the kids from 1991 to 2011. So I spent 20 years as a Mr. Mom. Total mistake. Well, it wasn't a total mistake. It was some of the best years of my life in some ways. So much love, and I couldn't have had a deeper, closer, better relationship with my kids than I did. It was wonderful. So... If being a human and having children is part of the life cycle and the expectation, I actually had the most wonderful time with my kids, better than probably any male, man in the world, almost. I'm sure there's other men who've had great time with their kids, but very few. My ex-wife ran off, but she paid the rent, she paid the utilities, and once a week, she'd go grocery shopping and drop off the food. In fact, she used to give me money and I could go grocery shopping. But then one of my students who was a heroin addict, he came to me as a Kung Fu master and I broke his heroin addiction, which I've done several times. I've helped people with all kinds of drug addictions. I'm not allowed to say cure legally, I guess, but I stopped and ended drug addictions and all kinds of other health problems many, many times. I'm very successful at fixing people. It's a shame that people don't want to be fixed more or come to me to be fixed because I fix everybody. I do. I fix everybody that got a problem. I fix them. That's why they leave. They come to me, they got a problem. I fix it. Oh, okay, thanks, bye. I need some self-defense. Well, they're with me 2 years. Boom. They can kick anybody's butt. Bye. I was like, oh, I got weapons. Oh, that's all right. I don't want to learn sword. So trying to find people who want to learn the Kung Fu lifestyle has been very, very difficult, especially since Bruce Lee killed Kung Fu. He says, don't have a master, don't have a style, put on spandex, jump in a cage, and learn from all these people who've got a good technique and put it all together, and that's your mixed up martial art. And that's what Bruce Lee did. He was not a Kung Fu master. That's why he had to create mixed up martial arts. He actually could not teach any martial art. He should not have even been a Wing Chun. He can't call himself a Wing Chun master, and he shouldn't have even taught Wing Chun lessons because he was only, at best, an intermediate level Wing Chun student. And it only takes 2 years to graduate Wing Chun, maybe 3 at the most. And he didn't even graduate Wing Chun. And there's no Wing Chun master who will say that he graduated, unless they don't know anything and they're just reading the press. But he was not a Wing Chun master. He was not a master of any single martial arts style. And when I hear people say that Bruce Lee was the greatest martial arts kung fu master of all time, it's like, oh, it just hurts me so much. Because he wasn't. If he ever said that, he's a liar. But people just bought into him. He's an actor. He fooled everybody. That's what an actor does. You fool everybody. He fooled everybody into thinking he was a real martial artist. He was a good actor in martial arts movies, but he was not a martial arts master. Never was. Didn't even die one. By the time he died, he still wasn't a martial arts master. But anyway, or at least not a kung fu master. He was a master of all these. Well, it killed him. I mean, he died. I mean, why the heck did he die? And why hasn't anybody else ever died of the same thing since then? Anyway, we can talk more on that topic another time, but actually I don't really want to. Other than the fact that I am pissed at Bruce for destroying Kung Fu, traditional Kung Fu. And I'll never talk good about him. But I got every movie about him. As an actor, I'll talk wonderful about him. You know, he was fun in the movies. I like watching those movies. But as a martial arts master, he disgusts me. But let's leave it at that. Okay, where were we? Oh, yeah, I was going to talk about my bass career. Yikes. Okay, so I got so many things to tell you. I'm trying to catch up with the past so we can start dealing with the present. Like I said, I've actually uploaded 32 singles to my distributor. And so over the next 2 years, those are going to be coming out. And I'm still pumping out songs. And I got a couple albums I'm finishing. And I got all these albums that I recorded when I was homeless, but I couldn't finish them. So I got to finish those. You know, not even start over. I want to finish them, whatever they were. So anyway. And I've got we'll get to that. Like I said, I've got lots of podcasts. We'll tell all these stories. My bass story. Okay. So my first bass job was actually that one with Lukey's Boat. Okay. And I was playing with them, but I didn't like them. They were classical rock, but the rock was only 10% and the classical was 90. And I did not like it. The pianist was really the Debussy. And as much as I know Debussy is, supposed to be great and, it is good, but it's not what I want to listen to. Not what I want to listen to. And I didn't enjoy playing Debussy and trying to put a rock vibe on it. It didn't work. So anyway, that was a short-lived event. But that was my first bass player job. And then the next thing I did was, so I come back I hitchhike. I'm hitchhiking back and forth all across Canada for a couple of years. Because remember, I'm exiled. I couldn't go back to the USA. So finally, I get kicked out. I got exiled from Canada, believe it or not. Whole story on that. Banff and the BANF. I don't know if there's two F's. BANF. The national park. I was kicked out of there. I was, hitchhiking across and I was sleeping in a fire station. And a remote one of those ones, ranger station, but a ranger fire station, a ranger station. And the guy who I'd been let in and everything, but the next day when they found me there, somebody decided to call the police and they locked me in the room. So then the police came and kicked me out of Banff National Park, drove me all the way to the border, and he was a horrible cop. He was cursing, saying all these threatening things he was going to do to me if I ever came back to Canada. And hippie scum. My hair's really long too. So I was hippie scum. And he kicked me out of Canada. So I got kicked out of America and I've been kicked out of Canada. So they exiled me from Canada, told me never come back. He said, if I see you, you're going straight to jail. That's almost a direct quote. I remember that the rest of my life. So anyway, so now I'm back in America and I'm hitchhiking down. And I come down the coast and I finally make it back to San Diego. And we're talking 74 and 75, I guess. So anyway, I'm back in San Diego. But okay, I come back to San Diego and I got my Fender. And I got all kinds of stories that happened when I was jamming and playing and groupies and stuff, but we'll pass all those over because we got to get to me playing bass. Now, I'm playing bass for the first time with a band. I got to remember the transition years. I was creating all these garage bands, literally garage bands, although we were actually in living rooms most of the time, to be honest with you, but garage bands. We weren't performing nightclubs because there weren't really any clubs to perform at. There was only like 2 or 3 rock and roll clubs in San Diego. And in 1978, when they went disco, there was not one single club you could even play rock music at. So it's like, okay, that's it. I'm going to Los Angeles. There's no reason I'm going to stay here. And I was not going to be a cover band playing in a hotel lobby. Which is, in fact, I had a memory of one of my friends. I don't know if I want to do a shout out to him. I still have a lot of respect for him, but maybe I could be more blunt if I don't say his name. But he was one of my friends from before I got exiled, from my pre-exile years in San Diego. He was one of my drug buddies. After school, during school, on the roof of the classes, we'd be smoking cigarettes and pot and dropping acid. Well, actually, I never dropped acid at school. Never, ever. Not one single time. That would have been a mistake. So anyway, where were we? I'm in all these garage bands I'm putting together, and I could start with a little effort. I could kind of remember all these different players that I had. And in fact, because I'm remembering this one band, when I had this guy, he looked like he was a Native American, but he said he was Swedish. He was dark and he had black hair, and he looked like a Native American, but he was Swedish. And his dad was the what do they call that? I should know that. The agent on a Indian reservation outside of San Diego, and it was his son. He was living on an Indian reservation, but he wasn't an Indian, and he was a guitar player. And I think he had Les Paul Jr. But anyway, he was a guitar player, and I was the bass player. And Jim Chatham, I think if I got the name right, was the drummer. Okay, yeah, I'm skipping. Okay, so many things and stories. Okay, so I got to go back a step before that. Something happened where we lost our bass player, and I couldn't find a bass player. And I had my 335. Oh, I upgraded to my ES 335, my Gibson, but I wasn't happy with it. In fact, I remember I had that in the studio. And when I was in Bonita Studio, I still had the 335 because I even did some work with First Edition, Kenny Rogers and them. I recorded a couple songs with them on that 335, and I loved it in the studio, but I hated it for playing live because it fed back. It's like an acoustic guitar, but thin. And at really loud volumes, which of course I'd play at, it would feed back, and it drove me nuts. If I would have kept that guitar, my plan was to take polyurethane foam and fill up the inside of the guitar with foam. If I would have kept that guitar for one more year, I would have done that. I would have filled the inside of the guitar with foam. And it might have been a great guitar. I'll never know. But I don't know if I'd ever do that again. And a 335 is a $3,000 guitar, so filling it with foam isn't probably the right reason to buy that guitar. So anyway, I traded that in for a bass, my 335, and I traded it in for a 1957 Rickenbacker 4000, the original Rickenbacker bass. Now, the Rickenbackers, if you look at them, there's something that people, I think, is totally goofy. When people look at a Rickenbacker bass, there's two pickups. There's the one near the neck, and then the tuning knob. So that's the neck pickup, and the bridge pickup. And the bridge is that metal bar that the strings go over at the other end of the guitar. You hook them on that end, and then you tighten them on this end. Anyway, you got that bridge down here. So the bridge pickup and the neck pickup. That's the easiest way to think of them, okay? So the neck pickup is just the most amazing thing in the world. It's just the most amazing pickup that doesn't exist anymore. And it's not what they use on the basses now. It's different. But it was just, that pickup is just so wonderful. Then the other treble pickup was the original one. Now, the magnets went over the strings. They went over the strings, and there was a space between them. So it was two magnets, and then the strings go underneath these two magnets. So here's the tuners up here. Here's the tuners. The strings come down here, and then they go under these magnets, and then they go over the bridge, okay? But that hunk of metal there is just, and those magnets were evidently just a really bad idea, or they were really bad quality. It was an interesting innovation, but obviously if it was a great idea, we'd still be seeing them. And so when, I think it was called Freedom Guitar in San Diego, when they got this bass in, it was all noisy, and nobody liked those pickups on the back. And we're talking the 70s, so nobody was really thinking of it as a collector's item yet, I guess. But anyway, so they sent it back to the Rickenbacker factory, and they took that pickup off, and they installed the new modern ones, which is probably very similar to the ones you'd buy right now. And they put that in the back. So I've got like a modern Rickenbacker pickup, and then I got the original 1957 pickup up here. Now, when I was recording with it the other day, I actually decided, because I like to sometimes just use that front pickup, but I put it in the middle position, so I'm getting a little bit of that tone on the end. So it kind of brings out the clarity of the bass. Sometimes I like that Shermanson sound. I'm really a fan of the guy from Motown who recorded a lot of those 60s stuff, whoever that bass player is. I really like him and his style and his sound. He also played flat wounds like me. I'm a flat wound bass player, and I'll never go round wound. Never ever. I really can't. I don't like hearing a big guitar just tuned really low. It's like, no, that's not bass. That's just a guitar that's playing low notes. No, a bass is a different instrument. It should have a boom, boom, not a bang, bang. It's a boom, boom sound. So anyway, I got flat ones on it. So I got a very unique sound. But when I recorded it the other day for that song, Slave Owners, I realized I liked the sound of the blend, just putting a little bit more tone into it. And that's how I recorded it. Oh, so my history as a bass player. I'm at 15 minutes. Yikes, I didn't even get to Tim Bogert. I don't believe it. That's hilarious. All right, well, we started with Tim Bogert. All right, we'll get back to this and we'll finish with Tim Bogert in the next one. I don't believe it. Really? I love to talk. I guess I'm what they call a storyteller. I enjoy telling stories only because I got stories to tell, and even if I make up a story, to be honest with you, I always take all these people that I know and stuff. I really don't create imaginary characters. I wouldn't know where to start. I just take people I've known and take parts of them and I put them together. So as a storyteller, it's always, if it's not a true story, it actually has elements of stories of the truth mixed in. Anyway, see you in the next podcast.